Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Mad Hatter logging back in, aka the Shadow Tamer, reporting live from the Upside Down Land. This go around, I want to talk about Donald Trump and Black history. So, recently, well, before I even get into that, I want to start doing this thing where I'm going to start saying, you know, what time it is, what the date is, because I think it's important to, for when I look back at these and for other people to look back at these to understand the full context of the situation. So today is February 1st, 2017, and the time is 11:11 p.m. So what happened today is it's the first day of Black History Month, and Trump met up with some black leaders to talk about black shit. He talked about Chicago, talked about the inner city, talked about some famous black leaders from the past, talked about the new black museum, the Smithsonian in D.C. So before I get into that, though, I think it's important that we remember what he said about Chicago, and I'm going to explain the context of this and why what he said. Whether he meant to do so willingly or not, what he was really trying to get at, and the image that he's portraying. Um, I'll get back into that. But what he said earlier, I believe this year, was that he was going to send the feds into Chicago if Chicago didn't handle the issue of black on black violence or violence itself, as if Chicago hasn't been doing that for a long time. But we'll get back into that. So he says he's going to send in the feds and deal with it his damn self, right? Which has a host of other issues that are problematic about that. You can't just send in the federal army to police shit, especially when the local police are there to do that. I mean, that's a big fuck you to the local police, but we'll get into that. So he, has his speech. It was like a gathering. It was the media was there. Certain media were there, and he talked about famous leaders. He talked about how he wants to help, quote unquote help. And he talked a lot about fake news because there was this article that the news did fuck up on, the mainstream media. They said that Donald Trump removed something, I think a Martin Luther King painting or something like that, that he removed it from the White House when he came in, but it was fake news. So he harped on that. He was like, fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news. Made it all about himself, right? So let me tell you some problems about this meeting, though, that I see with Donald Trump and these quote unquote black leaders. So the main guy there is Darrell Scott. He's a pro-Trump pastor from Cleveland, and he's a conservative, and he has some activist roots in him. I believe that he protested about one of these buildings in Chicago. I think they had some issues going on with it, like a lot of drug peddling and sex trafficking, all kinds of bad stuff, and he was protesting to make sure that this building got torn down. He's a Cleveland pastor, though, which is kind of interesting. It's like, Cleveland, where are the Chicago people at? Why are you talking to a Cleveland pastor? That's my first question. But anyway, we can get back to that. But Darrell Scott is the guy who kind of like put this together. And before I even get into him, here are the problems that I think occurred with this whole fucking meeting. Is why are black issues to Donald Trump and his supporters only inner city issues or gang related issues? It's as though that's all blacks are associated with. Now, that's what you see in the media a lot, but obviously blacks are not monolithic. People of African ancestry are not monolithic in this country. People of Native American ancestry, who are also black, are not monolithic either. So, a pastor from Cleveland met up with he says that he met up with top gang thugs, is what he says, to lower the body count. And he says that they really want to work with Donald Trump. They didn't want to work with the previous administration or other administrations, which I don't buy that shit. But he says they really want to work with Trump, which my thing is like, why do they really want to work with him? It kind of sounds like this dude, Darrell Scott's a little bit scared in that he wants an opportunity. Like he feels as though if I don't hop on this now, I could be, a part of, this broad stroke that Trump and his supporters believe in. I could be a part of the statistics that they see other black people as being. I think he's a little scared. And the other thing is that You gonna meet up with top thugs from what? From when? From 1970? Like shit don't still happen in Chicago like it happened in 1970, right? Another problem. I'm just gonna go through some of these problems, and I'm gonna bring it back home. So just hang with me. My thing is like, look, how can you support Martin Luther King, but then create a ban on Muslims? And if you listen to any Donald Trump supporter, most Donald Trump supporters, they can't stand black people. They're really only using this situation. The reason why they're supporting Donald Trump, quote unquote, supporting black people, is because they want to use this as an opportunity to cover their asses for their real racism that they portray and that they manifest throughout the rest of the day and throughout the rest of their lives. They want to be able to come back to this moment and say, hey, remember that time when Donald Trump tried to work with the community? So how can you say he's racist? Because he fucking banned Muslims. What the fuck? Come on now, let's get real. And the whole thing was awkward, right? If you watch this interview, I mean, this thing was fucking awkward, man. Everybody had this nervous ass laugh. Nobody really felt comfortable. I don't think Donald Trump felt comfortable, And he made this goofy remark about how he said he said blacks weren't supposed to vote for me, but they did. They voted for me more so than other candidates. But we're not going to get into those numbers, he said. Yeah, I wouldn't want to get into those numbers either. Now, this is the pure, this is an old tactic what Donald Trump's doing. It's divide and conquer strategy, right? He belittles Jews. He forgets them in the Holocaust. His supporters support that shit. He goes after Arabs. Doesn't make any comment about the Quebec City mosque killing, the massacre that just recently happened after he, took his executive order against people of Muslim origin, refugees from Muslim countries, especially the ones that we're bombing. He's gone after women. He's gone after Mexicans, immigrants. But we as black people are supposed to believe that he wants to work together with us? Like, are we really that fucking stupid where we believe that shit? Like, have we fucking forgot what this country's about, black people? That's the shit that's getting me, man. Is like, but there's this psychological thing that's going on where when black people, I think that because of what we went through, there's trauma that's in us, in our consciousness and our DNA. And I think that this administration is bringing that trauma back up. And so it's a fight or flight situation. There's either black people who are fighting and there's black people who are rolling over and open up their ass cheeks and saying, stick your fucking long ass dick, even though Donald Trump probably got a baby dick, but stick your fucking dick in as far as you can and fuck the shit out of me because I'd rather get fucked by you than to stand up for what the fuck I believe in or stand up for my people. That's what these blacks are thinking, man. Sorry to get fucking graphic, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. So let me wrap this up really quick about what this really is getting at. This shows that they don't even really understand gang culture today. Charles, let me get his name right. Give me 1 second. Because there's this really good article from the Chicago Tribune I'm going to share that I think you guys should look at and kind of get a greater context of what's really happening. These motherfuckers don't even understand gang culture. There's this guy, Charles Ransard, who's director of science and policy at Cure Violence, right? Which has been working in Chicago to cure violence. And they had a budget cut, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of ironic, right? They have a budget cut, but Trump wants to come in with his private, shit, his private army or his federal army and get shit done, right? But what this Ransford guy was saying is that these gangs are more fractured. And there's also a leader in Chicago in this that the story references that says the same thing. These gangs are more fractured. This is not like the 70s, 60s, whatever the fuck. This is not the shit that you saw on TV back then. It's different. There's not rules to this shit. It's a whole bunch of young ass kids. It's a whole bunch of Chief Keefs, fucking 300s motherfuckers out there doing whatever the fuck they want. I mean, you already have a bunch of gangs out there, and even those gangs that I knew of, I'm a fairly young guy. I'm 30, almost 30. And even the gangs that I was aware of growing up no longer exist. And I think, and I'm going to wrap this up. This is my final point. What I was talking about earlier about, why Donald Trump says that he wants to fix this Chicago issue, why he's focusing so much on this. This is a media tactic from the hegemony, the people in charge, and it's called priming. What they do is they prime you to think a certain way. So what this is doing is it's priming us to believe that blacks are violent and that we haven't been trying to find peace or peaceful solutions to what's going on in Chicago and in our own communities, as though we are not involved. Now, we are less involved than what we have been because of personal and systematic uh, circumstances, but people are involved and people are trying to get things done. So I think this is part of the propaganda to try to create this illusion or this image that black people aren't doing shit. We're violent, and guess what? We need the white savior to come in and save us. All I'm saying is I'm not buying that shit. Y'all let me know what you think. I'm done with this shit. I'm out.